welcome to the second episode of Pouring Out My Thoughts, hosted by me, HJ, where I just talk about whatever I want for about 30 minutes. Um, Whether that's how I feel about something that's happened in my life, or just my thoughts and opinions. And this week, I'm going to talk about Grace and Mary from Sinners. I love that movie with the depths of my soul. It is such a great movie. It's just so beautiful. I'm going to have to talk about like how I feel about it as a whole in a separate episode, but I want to dedicate this just to Grace and Mary. But overall, just know I really love that movie. It's just so good. Everything about it is amazing, and it is not what I thought it would be before I went to go watch it. I'm the type of person that certain movies don't quite sit well in my spirit, and I get afraid of like watching them. Like Sinister is like one of those movies for me. Like I watched it once and it scarred me. I can't watch it again. It literally unsettled me, and I was like, I can't do this. This is too much for me. And I thought Sinners was gonna be something like that, and it was my mistake for like listening or like reading too many of the reviews that people were saying. They were like demonizing it so much, and I was just like, yes, people are over dramatic sometimes, but at the same time, do I really want to risk it? And I finally ended up watching it because my sister had seen it and she kind of knows me, and she's like, no, you should be fine watching this. And I've seen it, I think, 3 times at this point. It's just such a good movie. So before I actually get into how I feel about Grace and Mary, I went on Rotten Tomatoes. Random fun fact, if you don't know the origin story of Rotten Tomatoes, it's so interesting. It was literally created because of Rush Hour. That's a whole rabbit hole. Highly recommend looking into that. That is just such an interesting story. But anyway, I was on Rotten Tomatoes looking at it, and I think currently it has like a 98 or 99% on Rotten Tomatoes. And I was reading some like the negative reviews, which obviously I knew was gonna get some, but some of the ones that I had seen were insane. Like I'm gonna put them on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube, but for my listeners, I'm gonna read it out to you. So I picked out like 3 of them that I thought were particularly interesting. So the first one is one of the worst movies I have ever watched. What the actual F was that? Singing vampires, no storyline, nothing. Whoever thought this is a good idea is out of their mind. And then in all caps, do not waste your time. Alexander G felt very strongly about this. He gave it half a star. And I'm just like, did he not watch the movie? There's a whole storyline. Like I don't understand how it's actually so crazy how people can completely miss the plot of a movie and it's so blatantly obvious. Like just pay attention. There's more multiple aside from the base storyline of basically this vampire trying to reclaim not reclaim what's the word I'm looking for, he's trying to get back to his people, he's trying to see his people again, and he is trying to get to Sammy to do that because Sammy has the gift of bringing back the spirits of past and future with his voice, or you can also call it a curse. That's like the main point, right? But it just goes so in depth into the history of like why that's important, and how black music has not only just in influence but also have been a part of everyone's culture. It talks about assimilation, it talks about segregation, it talks about um, culture theft, it talks about it's just it's so I really can't understand why this person said this. The second one was this person, VCUP, sure, gave it 1.5 stars, and they said it's just an okay movie. It absolutely doesn't deserve the 98% or whatever it is, whatever it's got now. This is one of those movies that certain folks lower the bar for and automatically granted at least 70% of its score for reasons I won't go into. Ooh, this person feels like a racist. And then said Weapons is a far better horror film and blows this one out of the water. It looks good, the acting is good, but the story is garbage and actually is a total ripoff of From Dusk Till Dawn. Now, when I was reading this, reading other comments, a lot of people said that it was like a copy from Dusk Till Dawn. I've never seen that movie. From what I understand, it had um, a similar plot point where these people were like holed up in a building and on the outside were vampires or something like that. I've never seen it. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. If you think I should, let me know. But I saw a lot of that. Now, the one of the parts that I think is stupid is, I mean, a lot of it, but one of them is the fact that he said Weapons, or they said, I don't know who this is, Weapons is a far better horror film. I watched Weapons, and Weapons felt like a waste of my time, actually. It wasn't necessarily bad, but it wasn't good. I feel like it was missing something. Like, I like the idea of it. Like, I feel like that's very interesting, but I just feel like it was missing something, and I can't quite figure out what it was. Like, it feels if it feels like it wasn't sure if it wanted to be like a straight up horror movie, like a psychological thriller, or if it wanted to be like a horror comedy type thing, because it felt it was funny to me, and maybe that's just me. There were some jump scares that kind of got me, but like overall, I don't think the two movies are comparable at all, because first off, their topics are completely different. Like, one is just like surface level, this is what it is, and Sinners is just like levels of different things, and that you can get different notes and different see something different every time you watch the movie. Like I said, I've seen it 3 times and I picked up on something different every single time. Um and yeah, I don't understand this comment at all. And I'm very much focused on the fact that he said certain folks lower the bar for reasons I won't get into. And I genuinely just think this person is saying or alluding to the fact that, like, oh, it was a black director or a black writer, so people are going to boost it up just for that. I have seen people do those things, like, oh, just because they're black it's great. um I have seen people do that, but in this case, that's like in addition to, it's like it's a great movie and he black. Like, that's how I feel like it is, right? And I'm a black woman myself, so I think that this person is just racist. But I'm gonna leave that alone. The last comment is my absolute favorite, because this person just proved that they missed it. They don't understand symbolism at all. Um, so this is Tim G. He gave it a half a star and said, terrible is so many ways, not in, is so many ways. So many plot holes, so slow, never really gets going. They burn down the they burn the building down and the next day it's back and dozens of dead people are gone. Why was the machine gun buried in a rectangular hole in the middle of the lot? Just use it from the cover of the bush. Why were all the dead people killed by vampires who came to the door to get in, not covered in blood? In the first scene with the vampire, it was daylight. There are like so many things that I feel like this person just wasn't paying attention. Maybe they need to watch it again. But the very first thing that they questioned was they burned the building down and the next day it's back. How did he not realize that was symbolism? Like, that was, it wasn't a literal burning the building down. It was just like the soul, the music, the energy, all of it. That's what like symbolically tore down the walls of conformity. Like, that's how I saw it, right? And it just I don't know how this person missed that at all. Um every other thing in here, it's answered in the movie. Yeah, there are some things that could be a little bit questioned, like um how come everybody wasn't covered in blood. But if you look at the part where they're singing the Rocky Road to Dublin, I think that's the name of the song, where they were standing like singing in a circle, a lot of those people were kind of covered in blood. Even what's her name, Norma, I can't remember her name, but the main woman, the first woman that Remick turned into a vampire, her whole face was just covered in blood while they were talking. Um, and the first scene in the daylight, it did confuse me. Um, but he was burning. He was severely burning and trying to get out of that. And I know that at the end he kind of burst into flames, but I think at towards the end the reason why he died a little bit faster in the end was because he was like already being weakened. Like he was already stabbed through the heart. He had that steel plate in his head. Like I feel like he was just weakened at that point. That's my personal opinion. I don't know. Anyway, those are the three comments, and I was just like, y'all need to go rewatch these movies, or like I don't really trust their judgment for anything else, right? But anyway, back to my point of this. I just spent 10 minutes talking about that. First, I'm going to talk about Grace. Now, Grace was the Asian woman, I think she's Chinese American woman who owned the two grocery stores with her husband Bo and her daughter Lisa. They had the one store on the black side and the one store on the white side. And I think her character was really what her and Bo's character was like to show like the bridge between the black people and the white people in that time in the Mississippi Delta. There's actually a apparently a documentary that the actress watched to learn more about that culture. Um, I need to watch it if I can remember the name of it. If I remember the name of it, I'll put it in the description on the YouTube video. But that's who her character is. Now, when I first watched it, she infuriated my soul. And she infuriated my soul the second and the third time I watched it. But when I decided this is what I was going to talk about this week, I actually sat and thought about her character, and I think I might have changed my mind slightly. Um, so if the obviously the thing that would make everybody mad that she did is she's the one that let all the vampires in the mill that they were in, that they were hiding out in, and then most of them died. And so like you can kind of see like, oh, this is all her fault. Like, why did you let them in? Why couldn't you think rationally? And even myself as a mom, like, why couldn't you just like listen to everybody else? They were saying at least wait it out to their night. And she was like, oh, they're gonna go back and kill all of our families. And they're like, no, there's a bluff. They're sitting outside. They're waiting on us to try and come out. And and I still was just like, why can't she just listen to them and just like wait it out through the night they would have lived? And I was like, I can't understand her. But then I started thinking, right? Had if they did wait the night out, right? If they waited the next morning, all of those vampires that were outside would have had to find somewhere to hide while the sun was out. Who knows how many people they would have gone back and killed in the town, right? Because all those people had families, right? Like Cornbread had his wife, and I think they had a child. I'm not sure, but Cornbread had his wife, and he was one of the main ones. Then you had Mary and Stack. They were all outside, and all these other people were probably going to go back home to their families and can turn their whole family, so they would have had more vampires to deal with. So I can understand the fact that they did have to deal with them that night. Now, the part where I don't agree with Grace, where I feel like if she would have thought just a little bit more, they could have still figured out a way to kill all the vampires, yet waited a little bit longer. Because I don't think that Remick and anyone else was going to go anywhere, because Remick wanted Sammy. That's who he wanted. He wanted Sammy. And it would have made more sense for him to stay there and try and wait him out because Sammy couldn't stay in there forever. So I think what they could have done if Grace had just like waited was they had, because it was clear that they were already planning for a fight. Because if you remember when Annie was telling everybody, um, what to like prepare for, like what they would need. She was like, "Oh, we'll need garlic, we'll need wooden, we'll need steaks, we'll need silver, all this stuff." Right? It's a montage of them getting all those things together. So it was clear they were preparing for a fight. They were preparing themselves. So had she just like waited and let them continue to plan for something, maybe they could have set traps, and then they were gonna like say, all right, now y'all can come in. After they've set some traps, maybe they would have killed more of them and still lived. But no, she gave them no time to prepare. She was just like, grab the, like she said, let's go. And everybody just grabbed the closest thing to them. And most of them died. Like, or died immediately anyway. Because obviously the only person that ends up living is really Sammy. I mean, Smoke did survive the night, but you get it. And then what makes it worse is that freaking Grace is like the first person to die. So it's like if you were trying to stop everything and get these vampires out and kill them immediately, why would you die immediately? Because if you were trying to get back to your daughter, that's what I don't get. That's where like her logic like completely flew out the window. Like that's where I can't rock with her because you if your goal was to try and protect your daughter, why would you be the first person to die? Like, it's like she had no self preservation at all. It really doesn't make sense to me. So while I agree that she was right in the fact that they had to kill those vampires that night in order to try and save the town, that part I 100% agree with. She wasn't wrong. However, she was wrong with her execution and dying too fast. Like, editor's note, I do realize that I didn't like fully get my thoughts out, but I wanted to say that like I can understand the idea of being so emotional over your child and only think about that you can lose logic and reason. So I don't like necessarily fault her for for her feelings and her emotions in that sense. Like I get that. And obviously also she can't control that she died first. It's annoying that she did, but she can't control that. However, it did seem like she wasn't trying to live, if that makes sense. Like she wasn't it didn't look like she was fighting in the hopes that she would survive afterwards. It was just like I'm going to kill you at any cost. If anybody has seen Squid Games, the very first season when oh, I can't remember her name, but the one lady who's obsessed with that one guy and they killed her. I think he rejected her or something, and she was just like, I'm gonna kill you, and if I have to go to that, it is what it is. And they died at the glass challenge, those little glass plate challenge. I hope I can explain what I'm talking about. I hope people know what I'm talking about. But that's how it seemed like Grace was ready to go. Like she wasn't. It didn't seem like she was trying to survive. So I just wanted to add that in here. I don't fault her for how she's feeling. I don't blame her for that. I understand that emotion. I mean, obviously I've not been in it. I'm sympathetic towards it, I guess. Um, and she can't control how she dies. It just annoyed me. That pissed me off. She definitely ruined it for everybody. I probably should have said spoilers, but I mean, if you're clicking on a video or a podcast that said anything about Sinners, I would hope you would think they're spoilers. Um, and yeah, that's how I feel about Grace. I agree with her at first for like her 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 goal. I agree with her goals. Her intentions, though, she was dead wrong. Dead wrong. Pun unintended. Now I want to talk about Mary. Now, I'm there's only one big issue that I have with Mary, and that was her trying to use her whiteness to try and help them, to say that like, oh, like, and obviously it wasn't explicitly said, but it was, she was telling Stack, let me go out there and let me talk to you. They're probably more willing to talk to me than they are to you. Like I can probably see what they're really here for. And me as a black woman, I do not like that. I hate that so much. Like I understand it. I just don't like it. I don't like people, like if you're in a situation where you are um trying to get information for someone who is a similar race to you, or ethnicity, and you know that you'll get more information that way, I don't like the idea of using that. And if in the way that Mary, I don't like that. It bothers me. Um, and this goes both ways. I've actually been in situations where I was at my old job and we would have these people who would come in and just be awful in the store. Like they were just rambunctious and just hectic, and it was just a lot. But they were all black. And my boss was white, or is white. She's not my boss anymore, but she's still white. But she would try and go talk to them, and they would just call her all kinds of stuff. Like, just mind you, she is the store manager, right? Like the top of the store, and they would just like be very disrespectful, call her all out her name, call every kind of B they could, right? And so she would come to me, and I was just a shift supervisor. She would come to me and be like, "Can you go talk to them because they're not going to respect me?" And it was because she was white. And so she would go to the like pass by any other shift supervisor, because there was other shift supervisors there, but they were also white. So she would come to me to go talk to them, hoping that because I am also black that they would listen to me. And unfortunately, I hate it. I hate that it did, but most of the time they did respect me a little bit more, because before they would say, "Oh, you're just saying this because you a racist white lady," but they couldn't say the same thing to me. Um, but I don't like that. I'm still trying to figure out exactly why I don't like it, but I don't. I just feel like we shouldn't. I just hate the fact that we live in a world where, or I'm gonna say in a country, because I can't speak for other countries. I don't know what goes on in other countries, but I'm just gonna say in this country, in a country where people, where your the color of your skin means way too much, in the fact that it can be used to leverage information is awful. I don't like that at all. Um, it just feels like it further pushes the separation. You know what I mean? Like, why can't why does it matter if I'm trying to get information from you and you are a white woman, I am a black woman? Why does the color of my skin deter you from giving me that information? I guess maybe some people may feel like, oh, it's because we're the same color, it's familiar territory, but it just shouldn't matter. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, and I didn't like that, and I understand that that it's time appropriate, um, because she was the only white woman, even though she was considered black because of the one drop law and all that bull crap. It just, I hated the fact that that was something that she had to do. Now, I also don't like Mary because she was stupid. She was just dumb. Like the fact that she went out there, even if she had protection, she went out there by herself. And the dumbest part is she turned their back. She turned her back on them. I don't care who you are, in any situation where you can't trust the opposition, you can't trust the other party that's there. Even if you have a weapon, she didn't walk away far enough to turn her back yet. Like, she was still way too far away from the door. I probably would have stayed with the gun up, because obviously she doesn't know they're vampires, but like, I would have kept my front to them the entire freaking time. But by the time, like, until I couldn't see them anymore, I wasn't turning my back. And I probably would have kept my face towards them until I got back inside. It just doesn't make sense to me. And of course, since she didn't notice the signs of people being real creepy and singing random music and talking way too much to her, just like trying to get way too close. Like, you should be curious of people being a little bit too nice. You know what I mean? Like, I guess I can't explain it, because it was like, obviously we know that as an audience, we know that Remington wanted something from her. But like, the glares in their eyes, their tone of voice, it was just a little bit too touchy feely for me. You know what I mean? It was just a little bit too much like, yeah, we clearly want something from you, so we're going to be as nice and sweet as possible to invite you in. And she fell for it. She fell for it. and did not. Like I said, she also, like Grace, had no self preservation, like none. She sat down next to him. Was it? Well, you know what's funny? What I just thought about. She probably also felt that same thing because they're white. She probably felt safe with them, or felt like she could use her whiteness to make them feel safe with her, and vice versa, probably unintentionally, that she could probably feel safe with them because they were white. I wonder. I might explore that thought a little bit more. I don't know. That's very interesting. I, oh wow, I just really thought about that and I'm sitting with it. I don't know. I do know that she she made me mad when it came to that. That just her using that and then also being dumb. Just making a very poor decision. It just it didn't make sense to me. I really don't understand it. Um and then also because Smoke told them the risks of inviting them in. Why would you continue to? Well, I guess Stack was also interested, like, because he wouldn't have let her go if he wasn't interested himself. But even still, like, it's. I guess it was like sometimes there are people who just they have the privilege of not having to worry about the risks, and she didn't feel like she had to. And I think that's what's bothering me about it is that she felt like she didn't have to worry about the risks as much, especially because she knew she was going to be she had protection even though it couldn't be there for her at that moment. She had protection, and she's white, or white presenting in this case. um I wonder. Yeah, well, let me know what y'all think. How do y'all feel about Grace? Do y'all feel like she was wrong? um Do y'all feel like things could have gone a little bit differently? Do y'all think they should have waited out the night? Do y'all feel as strongly against Mary as I do? Because I, the more I'm thinking about it, I might unpack this some more, but the more I'm thinking about it, the more it's making me mad. Like, because I keep thinking about new things. And yeah, I don't know. Well, that's all for this week of my ramblings. I don't script these. I just kind of talk as the thoughts come to my mind, clearly. Um, but it's kind of fun that way because you get to see in real time, like, oh, that's a new thought. Um, anyway, thank y'all for joining. Um, Tune in next week. We will talk about. Ooh, actually, I'm not gonna say. I'm not gonna say. I'm gonna wait until you read the titles for the next week's episode. Or I might release it later on this week. I'm not sure. I might be feeling spicy and release two in 1 week. We'll see. But thank y'all so much for tuning in. Um, if you are on Spotify, there is a video version on YouTube. Even though it's not my face, it's just gonna be some of the visuals from the movie. And if you're on YouTube and you don't pay for it and you just want the audio, I am also on Spotify. I also have Instagram and TikTok. TikTok, I believe, is fairy.net.network. So FHERI.network. And Instagram is Fairy Network. It might be the other way around, but still, Instagram and TikTok, you can find me at Fairy Network, FHERI, which is Finding Her Identity Network. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, and I will talk to y'all next week.